Hello, everybody. We are back. What is this called again?
Taped Crusaders.
Taped Crusaders. Hello, everybody.
It's been a while.
For Taped Crusaders. It's been a while, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
know that because we record these episodes out of order. I'm your co-host, Mike L. As always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman.
That's right.
Pilot.
And as always, we are joined by Champ Ian.
You know, I just had a thought.
What's
Since
that?
we are recording these out of order, I see you have a spiffy new hairdo. Are we going to have an episode where you have short hair, followed by an episode where you have longer hair?
This is going to be a continuity error in our release order.
We're going to have to
no.
come up with some sort of story,
to
some
explain.
sort of plot. Yeah.
Like I was
Yeah.
exposed to red kryptonite, and then I cut my hair, and then I went back.
yeah.
Anyway, okay. Let's
Or
just
a
talk.
wig, maybe, for continuity.
Maybe
or
we
we
will,
could
yes.
CGI your hair back in. We could
You
do
know
Oh,
what?
I like that.
I
we
like
could do a-
yes. That's
yeah.
probably
Who's-
the easiest solution. Is just
who's
have
the-
a rotoscope my hair in.
Who's the mustachioed Superman? They had to do reshoots and they
Oh,
had to.
you mean Henry
Henry,
Cavill?
Yeah.
That's basically the
very,
stage
very
I'm at here.
convincing CGI.
Okay, so here's the thing, folks. I just want you to know before we go forward that in all of fictional creation, Superman is my favorite character. Okay.
Okay.
Where does Superman rank in your ranking of characters?
Like just fictional characters.
Fictional.
I don't think top 5, but
That's an insult. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, let's skip you.
Okay.
Okay, Ian, where's Superman in your list?
I don't give a fuck about Superman.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Like, I do not care about Superman at all.
Wow.
At all.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just he's a little corny to me.
Okay,
I don't know.
I don't know if you're familiar with Lex Luthor. But
I am familiar with Lex
She has a
Luthor,
saying,
yes.
and that's don't ever trust anyone that don't like Superman.
I thought she was more of a Spider-Man person.
Well, she's like Spider-Man too,
Yeah.
and Captain America.
Yeah.
But her rule is don't trust anyone that doesn't like Superman.
gotcha.
That's what she lives by.
I
I'm with
don't
her. I'm with her.
dislike Superman, but I don't know. It never was. Even growing up, never
ridiculous.
my favorite. Or okay.
Okay, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're welcome to your own
I'm
opinion.
texting her right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's
It's
the
her
thing.
birthday today on the day of recording
Yes, it
too.
is.
Oh,
It
so,
is.
really?
Yeah.
It actually
Really?
is.
Hold on
Yeah.
a
So
second.
Superman is my favorite character.
Happy birthday, period. I don't like Superman, period.
Period. LOL. Okay,
Oh,
it
that
listen.
makes
actually said the word period as well.
Okay, of
Thanks,
course.
Siri, for-
So here's the thing.
That'll make sense to her in a couple of weeks.
1993. I'm loving
Yes.
Superman. My light switch on my wall is a Superman light switch. I have a
Very nice.
Superman vinyl record. I have a Superman toy. I have Superman comics everywhere. This show comes out. I am so there for it. I watched it the premiere night that it came out, pilot episode. So I saw this episode, 31 years ago?
Okay.
And then I watched it. It was on for 4 years. I watched it for the first 3-ish, and then I lost interest. Mm-hmm. I'll explain why later. But anyway, Josh, what's your experience with Lois and Clark?
This was my first time seeing
Holy
anything
shit!
from it. Yeah.
Really?
Well, I wasn't born until 2 years later.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I didn't grow up watching this. I don't remember ever seeing, like, reruns or anything on
Interesting.
TV.
Okay.
When I was, I feel like by the time I would remember, like, things on TV, though, it was probably, like, 99 ish. So, yeah, never
Okay.
seen this before.
Anyway,
Thanks. That was Tape Crusaders.
Yeah, on
you can
to
find all our
Champion.
podcasts on the internet.
Ian, September 1993.
Yes.
This show comes out. What are you
Yes.
doing? Are you watching it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you
I,
aware of it? Are you aware
I
of
was
it?
not aware of it.
Wow.
I was not aware of it.
When did you become aware of it?
1993. What was I doing in 1993? I would have been in 11th or 12th grade or
Yeah.
something around there.
I think we were hanging out. I think that's
Yeah,
when
we
I started hanging out
were.
with
We
you. Yeah.
were. I'm actually a little surprised that you didn't make me watch it somehow.
At some point.
Or maybe
Yeah.
maybe you tried and I
Maybe
just
I
sort
tried.
of stop it, Mike. I've got homework.
Yeah.
I had homework that
Yeah,
day.
That's why.
Yeah,
Well,
so I didn't see
okay.
it until recently.
This week.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so here's the thing. I did watch the show. Now, let's be clear. The show is called Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman. So clearly it's focused on the relationship between Lois Lane and Clark Kent, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's the thing, though. is that the first thing I have to say about the show is that Teri Hatcher is incredible as Lois Lane. And I used to say Phyllis Coates was the best Lois Lane, but Teri Hatcher might be the best. I think she's really good as Lois Lane. Dean Cain, not so good. Not so good as Superman, I don't think. And in fact, I think he's notoriously, like, for example, famous comics artist Alex Ross, like, he vocally detests Dean Cain as Superman.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he looks the part, but I don't think he has the charisma. He's not the acting ability to be
Certainly
Superman.
not Clark Kent.
Yeah, no.
You know, I think that's the... He doesn't feel like Clark Kent a lot of the times.
No.
He feels like Superman dressed up as Clark Kent.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, or like he's being Superman, not in disguise. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Which the pilot episode does touch on a little bit.
Well, okay, here's the thing now. So just for our viewers out there, just so they're not confused, we actually watched this pilot a month ago. Then we got sidetracked by life and, the events and things. And so I watched it a month ago, but that was my second time in 30 years. Josh watched it a month ago, first time ever.
Yeah.
And Ian watched it twice.
Wait a minute. So you're saying you've watched it once.
Yes.
You've watched it twice in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And I've watched it twice in the last 30 days.
Yes.
Which
So-
makes me the resident
expert
expert
on Lois and Clark.
Okay.
So can you tell our
Oh
viewers
my
what exactly,
God.
just a 45-second summary of what happens in this episode?
Obviously, you loved it.
I loved it. I loved
Watched
it
it
so
twice.
much that I watched it twice in 30 days. Lois Lane is a no-nonsense news reporter for the Daily Planet, and she is paired with new to Metropolis Clark Kent, who gets a job at the Daily Planet. They are paired off by what's
Perry
his name?
White.
Perry White, played by the guy who was the prosecuting attorney in My Cousin Vinny, his most popular role.
Oh.
Shit, I forgot about that. Nathan Lane,
Yes,
who's I know from the TV show V.
which I've never seen. I know that you're going to
Yes.
yell at me about this later.
No, we'll talk.
So Lois Lane is very very strong-willed and very very serious about her career, and she resents the fact that she is paired off with this country bumpkin of a small town reporter. She's also trying to get the big interview with Lex Luthor,
Yes.
who is a billionaire, as he always is. There's some weird, really in-your-face subplot about a space station,
Yeah.
and they're sending rockets up with colonists to this space station because that's how they're going to save kids and end disease
Yes,
and teach a little girl to walk again. So the main plot revolves around Lex Luthor sabotaging the NASA version, like it's not called NASA,
Sure.
but
Right.
it's the public space program. He's trying to sabotage that so he can create his own
SpaceX.
And
thing.
save the day kind of thing,
and
yeah.
save the day, but also make all the money. So that's basically that. And she doesn't really get the interview, but they find out what's going on, and the space station thing happens anyway because Superman flies everyone up to space himself.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. There's two levels to this episode. There's the plot, which is what you just said.
Yeah.
But then there's the relationship between Lois and Clark, which is, I think, much more interesting to me, at least.
Yeah.
So when I rewatched it, I saw this when I was a teen, and I was like, Teri Hatcher, I'm pretty sure this is what made her kind of a star. Like, she was in that episode of Seinfeld that same year, the famous one. Are you a Seinfeld fan?
I've never been a Seinfeld fan. I've never really sat down to watch Seinfeld,
Holy-
although I have seen every episode. It's one of those
Gotcha,
shows
of
that
course.
Right.
it's
yeah.
like I've never watched it yet. Whenever I put it on, it's like, oh, yeah, I've seen
You've
this one.
already
Oh, I've
seen
seen
that
this
one.
I've seen this
So
one.
do you remember the famous episode when Elaine tells Jerry that his girlfriend has fake boobs?
Okay.
Remember that one? That's
That
Teri
rings a
Hatcher.
bell. Okay.
And then the joke of the episode is they're real and they're spectacular. That's Teri Hatcher. So that came out, I believe, the same year that this premiered. So anyway, she then went on to start. Oh, Josh, do you have Wikipedia open?
Oh, yeah,
She went
sure.
in to star in, was it Gilmore Girls? I don't remember.
No, it was
Sex and
Sex and
City.
the City.
Sex and the City. So yes, she she's had her own career. She's famous. She's awesome. She's great. I love her. And in this show, she totally shows her comic timing. She totally shows, just to me, the camera's drawn to her. Your eyes are drawn to her for her
Desperate Housewives.
Desperate Housewives. Whatevs. All shows that our girlfriends have forced us to watch. They're awesome, by the way. Whatever. It's fine. But anyway, she's great. She's perfect. Now, we'll get to her later. Let's just take her out of the show. Let's talk about the rest of the show, okay? I've seen every episode of Superboy. I've seen Adventures of Superman. I've seen a few episodes of the new Lois and Clark TV, Superman and Lois, whatever the hell it's called.
Right.
It's I've seen all the movies. I've seen all the cartoons. It's pretty good. Like Perry White's pretty good. Jimmy Olsen's pretty good. Lex Luthor's pretty good. I think this episode is a fairly well written episode, but I just think it's all over the place. It feels like it goes, oh, let's do a little bit of this. Let's do a little bit of that. Oh, yeah. Don't forget there's this other plot going on. Let's go back to that. That's my impression of this episode. It just feels like a hodgepodge. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think that the best moments of this episode are when the plot really isn't going on.
Right.
And it's just the two of them usually in a room trying to figure out what's going on and just kind of like their banter and
Yes.
their conversations together.
Sure.
I really do like them. I don't like him as Superman, but I like the two of them together kind of bouncing
Playing
off each other. Yeah.
Ian.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of this particular Superman actor either, but he was a pretty good antagonist for Lois Lane. Like he did a good job of pissing her off.
Sure.
In a way that was amusing and not too over the top, but it still sort of it drove their relationship, right? Like it drove us learning about how they're interacting. The rest of everything, like this weird space station plot, I don't understand. When you're working on like a pilot of a TV show, keep it about the characters.
Right.
Keep it simple. Let's have a simple story. Let's introduce everyone who's going to be important, and let's learn as much about them as we possibly can. I don't care about a space station. I really don't care about two space stations, and I don't care about like this battle for like which space station are we going to use, and the motivations behind the space station, and how they can separate the nucleides of viruses and make kids walk again.
Yeah,
I don't care about any of that. It's just my eyes start to glaze over. But then we get back to the Lois and Clark bit, and it's like, all right, these are likable enough characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? I think the thing is, if you go back to Superman the movie, the first one, 78, Superman, like Lois Lane is stuck in a helicopter. And that's a very primal, like everyone can relate. Oh, helicopter, in trouble.
Yeah, who hasn't been stuck in a helicopter?
Yeah, exactly, right? Superman saves the day. Okay, then in the comic book in 86, John Byrne tried to one-up it by, oh, it's a space shuttle that's crashing and Lois Lane's in it. Okay. So now this movie tries to one-up it. Oh, no. It's a space station. Right? So it's like, okay.
Well, she does end up in the... Does she end up in the rocket? Because there's a bomb in it.
Yeah, I think
the
she
end.
is. I think she is, yeah.
And then Superman eats the bomb.
But, yeah, okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. But here's the thing, though. Go back to... Ian, I know you've never read a comic book.
No, never.
But do you remember the cover of Action Comics #1? The most famous cover ever.
Yeah, it's Superman lifting up an old car.
Green.
So, guess what? Everybody can relate to a car. So why not just have Lois Lane stuck in a car? Or something, right? Like something a little bit more down to earth.
Yeah.
And the plot doesn't have to be, oh, if they don't, rescue this thing, all these kids are going to not be cured. Like, again, it's trying too hard, essentially. That's what you're saying, right? Too complicated. Yeah. Keep it simple and just make it a simple MacGuffin that these cool characters can deal with, and then you're done, right?
Yeah.
But it felt like they were trying to stretch it out a little bit too much. And Okay, why don't we just go through let's just go through all the characters in this, and then that'll kind of like go on
Sure,
from there.
yeah.
So we've talked about Dean Cain. Do we need to say anything more about him? He's okay as Clark, but not really.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's strange because like I don't know. I've never known Clark Kent to be this like kind of bumbling jock. He's always been a dork.
Yeah,
even
you're right.
even
Yeah.
before he was Superman and pretending
Sure.
to be like nerdy, like.
But in this, he's just like a cool guy pretending to be nerdy. Kind of.
Not even like he's not even pretending to be nerdy in it.
He's not even.
He's too competent.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and maybe it's not just him. It's definitely in the writing a little bit, but they don't understand Superman because
Yeah.
they see him as Superman first, then Clark Kent second, right?
Which is a problem.
So he is this like superhero, this cocky guy. He's gonna walk into the Daily Bugle Daily Planet and run the place. He's gonna he's not this hot shot. And I get that they're trying to play off of Lois Lane, but I don't know.
You know what? That's actually a good point. And I think one of the things, I mean, none of us can say anything ill about Christopher Reeve because he's perfect. But on top of Christopher Reeve, one of the things that has to be an aspect of Superman is that he is a farm boy.
Mm-hmm.
He is he's like a hick, and he's got, like, even though Superman is cool, he still has to be he can't be street smart the way Lois Lane is street smart. He can't be hip. He cannot be hip.
No.
He can't be. Lois Lane is hip. Lois Lane is kind of what's that word when you can kind of like hang out with any social class? Is there a word?
Chameleon?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like Lois Lane can kind of hang out with, because she's a reporter. She knows like upper class, lower class. But to me, Clark Kent grew up on a farm. He's a hick. He's kind of like, he's not hip. And that's one of the things that it's not just, it's partly an act, but it's also partly like he's not really with it. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that's key.
He's never fit in anywhere, right? Like he's an alien. He's an alien. He's literally an alien. This Clark does not work.
No,
I don't think
I agree.
at all.
I agree 100%.
As a character, he's fine. And I think he is a good foil to Lois Lane, but it's just...
He's not Clark Kent.
Yeah,
No.
it's just not him.
He's not Clark Kent.
Yeah.
He, right off the bat, there's this weird scene where he stops a theater from being demolished, and then he bonds with this actor who's inside for some reason, having one last soliloquy before they demolish the place, and then he writes like a human interest story about it, and it moves. What's
Perry White?
It moves Perry White to the point that it's like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic writing. You've got the job. So it doesn't make sense that like he doesn't come across as a bumbling anything. He comes across as a masterful writer.
Yes.
And then from that point, it doesn't make sense that Lois Lane is so hesitant to work with him, because I think she might be in there in the room as he's reading this, like, "Oh, you're really good." If they were just kid, I guess we can't find anyone else for this spot. We can give it to you on a trial basis. Set him up like that, where nobody knows if he's any good, and then pair him with Lois Lane because he's the only person available,
Right.
So that she has some reason to be apprehensive.
Or make him like soft. You know what I mean? Like that is like such a personal story, and she's trying to get this like hard hitting, like huge story. He doesn't have what it takes. So then he could still be like, feel like he belongs as a news reporter, but like he is still a foil to Lois Lane, right? Like everything about him is like, I don't know. He's like shy and meek, and she's just like going for it.
You know what this reminds me of? As does everything, is Perfect Strangers, the TV show Perfect Strangers. Because Balky comes from Mypos, and have you seen Perfect Strangers? Who talked about it? It's a masterpiece.
No.
So the whole premise of the show is that big city sophisticate Larry Appleton has a cousin from a Greek island in the Mediterranean, and the premise of the show is that isn't it funny how backward Balky is?
And yet.
And yet he always ends up actually being right and actually being wise. So it's almost like they could do that dynamic where Lois is the street smart metropolis sophisticate and Clark Kent is the backward farm boy, but somehow he always ends up kind of like one-upping her or whatever, coming out on top. That could be like a funny
Larry
dynamic.
and Balky, the new adventures of Superman.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So they could have done that. But okay, so now let's talk about Teri Hatcher. I already said my piece about Teri Hatcher. I think she's incredible. What do you think
She's
of Teri
fantastic.
Hatcher?
Yeah. I think you said that like you weren't sure if she was the best, but like after watching this, she's really good.
Yes.
And it's no wonder that her name comes first.
Right.
Even before Superman, which is crazy. You know, like as a to like sell a show.
Right, as a marketing.
And
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
Right.
And for Clark Kent and Superman to be kind of her sidekick is extremely smart. I think we do lose that a little bit in the show. Like we kind of are distracted a little bit too much with Clark Kent going back home and
sure, it's a pilot.
like figuring out he's Superman or whatever. But I would have liked to have seen more of her, honestly.
Yeah, and there's more to come, right? There's 4 seasons.
Yeah,
but anyway,
sure.
Ian, what'd you think?
No, she was great right off the bat. From the very first scene that she's in, when she storms into the Daily Planet and she's dressed like a homeless guy.
Yes,
and
comedy.
And she's just like ripping this stuff off. She's like, I'm so happy to be out of this. But you know, she got the story, she got the scoop, and like right off the bat, we're not just told that she's competent. We are shown how she is competent.
That's a great point. You're right.
And that continues on. She's just incredibly driven, and her drive fits exactly what she's supposed to be doing, this hotshot reporter. And I believe every second of it.
Yeah, and throughout the show, I remember very funny moments where she'll disguise herself as a pizza boy, or she'll disguise herself as a whatever, because she's just so determined to get that story right.
The only thing about her character that sort of irked me a little bit is that she's just like, this seems to be typical 90s, like she's man crazy. She's always trying to get a date, and she's pissed off that she can't get a date. And that seems to be like the hot button whenever she's in conflict with
her sister Lucy.
Is that her sister?
Yeah, Lucy Lane.
Oh no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the other person that works at the.
Oh, Cat Grant.
Yes,
Cat Grant.
yes. That's what she needles her about. Oh, you can't get a man. You're all business. You don't have a personality.
Right.
And it seems as though she's a little bit too preoccupied with that sort of thing. When I think that as a real person, she'd be like, I don't give a shit about. If I don't get a date, well, I got work to do.
Yeah,
she's too serious for that.
Yeah, I think that having a moment like that is good, especially when she kind of confronts Clark about not wanting to go to this party, right?
That was a good scene.
Yeah, she was like,
moment.
come to the party with me. And he's like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the biggest thing and you're going to reject it. I like that aspect of her trying to like get a date because it shows that she's headstrong and it's kind of just like, she isn't this meek little like, oh, what do you think going?
Yeah,
she's just like, come with me. That's great. But then, like her being boy crazy is a little bit. It feels like it was written by a dude.
Yeah,
you know that part is.
I was reminded of Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns, right? Like, why are you hammering on this? It just feels weird, and we don't need it.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Josh, do you mind busting out your
you got
Wikipedia?
it.
So next we're going to talk about Nathan Lane. Is it as Perry White?
Lane Smith. Nathan Lane is producers.
I know who he is.
Timon from The Lion King.
So Lane Smith, who we know from the TV show V, and Ian knows from
My Cousin Vinny.
As one of the lawyers.
Yeah, the prosecutor.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good at that. Yeah. Great actor. Southern accent. In fact, his Southern accent made them change Perry White's infamous tagline, which is "Great Caesar's Ghost." In this show, it's changed to "Great Shades of Elvis."
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, they changed it. I think he's perfect. I think he's perfect for this role. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, he was good. I don't know.
A little bit.
He wasn't in it a whole lot.
Sure.
There's also a couple of scenes, I think, that distracted me from his character and his acting that didn't make sense. Like the one I don't. It's been a couple of weeks now since I've seen it, but the one that sticks out
I know what you're gonna
with
say.
me is the boardroom scene.
Okay, not that scene.
Lois and Jimmy Olsen are missing.
Yeah.
And they have this like meeting that they're going to that Perry White is in charge of.
Yes.
And Clark's like, I gotta go.
And then he goes to the closet.
Yeah, he goes to the closet, and
That
then
is the
immediately
weirdest
he's like,
freaking
"What are you
scene.
doing in here?" It's like,
That is
weren't
the-
you just in the boardroom?
That was the most badly written scene in the whole show. Like, what the hell was
And
that?
he even said, "Okay, whatever. I'm gonna run this meeting.
Yeah.
Go ahead."
That
And then
was
he
terrible.
immediately opens the door on him as he's about to leave. Like, it
First of all,
didn't make any sense.
Perry White would not leave a meeting to do that. Someone else in
Yeah,
the meeting might.
yeah.
Then it'd be funny. Then it'd be suspenseful. But yeah, that was just bad.
But then there's also like a latent gay joke in there too, where
Are
Perry,
you coming out of the closet?
are you coming out?
Yeah.
I was
Like,
like,
of the
huh?
closet?
that was
Yeah.
that was
What-
like
what-
inserted by a different writer. That was terrible. That was garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
was
And
bad.
I was waiting for that for the rest of the episode to pay off somehow,
Yeah.
right? Like you
No.
put that in there for no reason. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
just a little stupid throwaway gag. Dumb.
Garbage. It was garbage.
Yeah. So I think that he was fine as the
Yeah.
character, and I'm sure as the episodes go on, he's has time to shine. But
Sure.
I thought he was just fine in
Yeah,
this. Yeah.
Okay. Ian.
I think he sucked. No. I think he was fine too. I was a little worried at first that they were gonna play like the fact that he's Southern up
Sure.
as a bit,
Sure.
but they didn't.
No.
Beyond the great whatever Elvis,
Shades of
great
Elvis,
Shades of
great
Elvis,
Shades
which
of
I didn't
Elvis.
pick up on. Everything else, he was fine. He was competent. He came across as a
He was a
convincing.
grizzled old editor of a newspaper. Yeah, he was good for that role.
Yeah.
I was a little distracted because My Cousin Vinny is a great movie.
Yeah, it is a great movie.
I couldn't help but be reminded.
of how good My Cousin Vinny is, and I'm with you on that 100%. And then hold on a sec, let me get my specs on. Who is
Michael
it?
Landis as Jimmy Olsen.
Michael Landis as Jimmy Olsen. Okay, so just for you newbies, he actually gets replaced after season 1.
Oh, good.
No, because he's awesome, and I think he's perfect as Jimmy Olsen. However, he was replaced because he's too close in age to Dean Cain as Superman. And he kind of, I'm not going to say he looks like him.
I was
but
going to say he looks
if you squint your eyes, he kind of looks like him.
really early on. The two of them go to they're at the ball or the dance or whatever it is, like the party, and they're watching Lois and Lex Luthor dancing. They look the same. They're dressed the same because they're both in tuxes, and they act the same because
he might
Clark
even
Kent
be-
is like
Yeah, and in fact, Michael Landis might even be taller than Dean Cain.
right,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
I know.
it.
I'll give you that.
I don't know. I just felt the couple of scenes that he was in, I was like, this doesn't feel like Jimmy Olsen to me. And maybe it was because Clark was also kind of acting like Jimmy Olsen. Like he was acting out of character. So then he just felt like a repeat of Clark.
Also, when they got kidnapped, they just
Yeah.
made Jimmy Olsen disappear for the whole time they were interacting.
They're
Really
tied
weird.
up on like in the warehouse or whatever, and the gas, like the liquid
Yeah.
is leaking or whatever. And where is Jimmy?
He's
Oh,
just-
so he was kidnapped too?
He was
Oh,
kidnapped,
just off
but
to
he
the
was just
side.
off screen.
Okay.
And then after
Alright.
they
Yeah, it was badly written.
after they run away and when the building explodes, Clark just throws him over his shoulder and runs out.
Badly
like he's
written.
just off to the side somewhere off screen.
Huh.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the actor?
I
Ian?
didn't.
Okay, you didn't think of him at all.
I didn't think
I thought
of him.
about him a lot.
I didn't think of him. No, I don't remember anything that he
Okay.
did or anything that he
Okay.
said.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, all right, I don't like Superman very much. Sorry, Bex.
Offensive.
So I don't know the importance of Jimmy Olsen. I know he's the photographer.
Sure.
Is he like important?
Yeah. He's
Well,
like.
I don't know these things.
Okay.
Like,
Okay. Okay.
uh,
so
he
as a
didn't
character-
seem important at all.
Well, let's
like
put
he
it
just
this way. Have you seen the movies, the Richard Donner films, Christopher
Yeah,
Reeve?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So he's like that. He's like the funny guy. He's younger, and he's kind of like he's the comic relief.
yeah. Like I get the impression that he's like nobody respects him, but he's
Right.
really really trying his best, and
Right.
he
See,
doesn't mind that he's kind of not respected.
I think in this show he might be almost too cool,
Yeah.
and I think he's supposed to be more like nerdy, bumbling, again young. But yeah, in this show he might be too slick. Maybe that's the problem. However, the actor they replaced him with, no offense to the actor, but he's worse. He's worse. So this guy is actually the best.
Interesting.
The best Jimmy Olsen in this TV show. Anyway, okay, let's talk about Lex Luthor. Okay, because I actually thought this guy was a pretty good Lex Luthor. Now, just so our audience knows, we actually just watched Young Frankenstein. And there was young Frankenstein, and there was a scene with Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
And I love Gene Hackman so much, but every time I see Gene Hackman, I cannot help but think of Lex Luthor. So it's hard for anyone to fill Gene Hackman's shoes, but the actor that played Lex Luthor in this pilot, who Josh is frantically...
John Shea. No, I was just looking...
okay.
Sorry.
He's just checking his Facebook.
He's just going through, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you're like...
His filmography.
Okay, so what's his name?
John Shea.
John Shea. I thought he was actually really good as Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Maybe the scene of him attacking a poisonous snake was a little bit over the top. But Ian, what did you think of John Shea?
Sorry, now I've got that poisonous snake scene stuck in my head.
I forgot about that.
I had no idea what was going on there for a second. It's just like he's asleep, and now there's a snake.
And it's shot so strange too. Like he feels upside down at times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
But it's one of those scenes where you're like, oh my god, is Lex Luthor gonna die? Oh, I see.
Really, you were like, oh, this is it.
Well,
he's gonna die.
I knew he wasn't gonna die, but at the same time, that's what they're going for.
Right.
I know that, but I also like the fact that it's over the top. But I like it though. What do you think, Ian?
It's such a weird, like that scene, right? There's a snake, and he's like staring the snake down, and then the snake trainer is like, "Is that all for tonight?" Oh, so this is a
routine.
This is a routine. Your snake charming lesson has concluded, Lex.
No, but you know what it's like? It's like when you ever see the Pink Panther films?
Yes.
When Inspector Clouseau gets attacked by, is it Kato or the Asian guy that tries to kung fu him to death? Every time he comes home, that's kind of like this. It's like every night Lex Luthor is relaxing by the fire with a cigar, and a snake tries to bite him, and he just fight. What is he?
He just stares at it until the snake gets scared,
which is awesome.
I guess if he were to if he was actually being attacked by a snake, but
well, he's got to be ready.
It's like something
you
that
never know what you're going to run into walking around in Metropolis, right?
I
so
suppose.
there's cobras everywhere.
The takeaway from this is that we should all be preparing for snake attacks.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was like an Attack of the Clones Zamwazel situation at first.
Yeah, death by deadly.
Who is that? Oh, the killer centipedes or whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay. Besides that, though, what do you think of the actor?
Good. Yeah, I liked him. He was equally charming as he was evil, and I think that's kind of perfect for Lex. His motivation in this one is very like mustache twirly with the space, like making it huge, like a space station, and having orphans' lives at stake or whatever it was is like a little crazy. But I think that the actor was great. Yeah.
It would have been nice if he was bald, though, right? I wish he was bald.
Yeah, I'm assuming that maybe it happened later, because I feel like that happens a lot with these long form Lex Luthors, where they start off bald, with hair and then some sort of accident happens and now he's bald. And
is he always bald in the comics?
Yes. Except for like in 1938.
Oh
yeah, he in his first appearance, he's got red hair, and then by a second or third, the artist made a mistake and thought he was drawing the Ultra Humanite who's bald, so he drew the wrong character, and now ever since then he's been bald.
Huh. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah,
He makes one mistake, and then for continuity's sake, I guess he's bald for the next 100 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
But I don't know. Either make him bald, don't make him bald. Stick to one or the other, I think.
Sure.
Because what Superman property was it that season 2 it was bald? It was an industrial accident.
Smallville.
Smallville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sort of thing is just a little silly.
What?
when you just try and shoehorn this fact
How
about
he
a
got
character,
bald,
right?
yeah.
Like nobody
Right.
nobody cares about how Lex Luthor lost his hair,
Because he already is evil,
do.
right?
or if you're gonna do something.
It's just male pattern baldness.
Exactly. Like, oh, this Rogaine's not working for me.
Right,
Well, I guess I'm
yeah.
just going to shave it all off because I'm sick of this. The actor himself was fine. I was distracted by his motivations though, because again, I thought that the space station stuff was silly. Like when he gets really mad that they're going through with the launch and he smashes his little model spaceship.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Come on,
He
buddy.
like grabs it too and
Okay, so there's a million things we could say about the plot. Let's just talk about some of our favorite scenes here.
and the
like,
plot says a million things.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. What did you guys think of the scene when Superman is in his apartment and he's like walking around on the ceiling? Ian? No, you didn't like it?
Nope, didn't like it. I could see what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to leverage some interesting, filmmaking techniques because that was like a rotating room.
Yes.
And like it's impressive from a technological standpoint for a pilot. Like I can't believe you went to all that effort, but it looked a little silly and we didn't need it. And I think that the shots of him flying looked or floating looked very, very convincing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Like when he floats out of bed to tighten up the light bulb that's
Yeah,
flickering.
that was pretty cool.
And then he
That was
floats
pretty
back
cool.
down and he's like right back where he was. And you can see like little details, like when he
Right.
lands back on the bed, the pillow sort of
Sure.
conforms to his head. That looked very convincing. Him walking, no,
It was kind of pointless.
You're trying to show off.
It's
and
not
I know
really
you're trying to show
Superman,
off.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the big thing is it doesn't feel like a Superman thing to do.
It's more like a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Spider-Man, right? Because he is sticking to walls, so like him
Right.
like pacing, it makes sense. When is Superman ever upside down, like fully upside
I
down,
know.
doing anything? It just doesn't.
It's almost like there was a special effects guy on set that was like, I know how to do a little
Yeah.
tiny room. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll fit it in. I know.
But I did like the levitating, the floating, him flying. When
Like
he
the scene where he's giving $1 to the
right,
homeless
yeah.
guy.
See, that was weird though because he was dressed as Clark Kent, right? The whole time.
But this is before he had a suit at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
it fits in. Okay. Oh,
And when he like sees Lois for the first time
Yeah.
in the gown, and he like instinctively just floats.
okay.
I really
that
like
was
it.
Good.
I-
that was funny.
It is like
yes.
cheesy, but I think it works. It's the right amount of
Yeah.
like fun into that scene.
Because this show, it works because it's like a Superman show for a different audience. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's why it works. I think that
and from a different perspective, right?
Yeah,
like it is more about Lois and Clark.
Yeah,
it's
the
not
relationship.
about Superman putting on the costume
right.
all the
It's
time
about
and fighting bad
two
guys.
people who one of them happens to be Superman.
Yes. Yeah.
What about one thing that was disappointing was the whole rocket thing. I seem to remember that we don't see Superman like do anything. He just walks into the room, puts the bomb in his mouth, the bomb blows up. It's shit. It's a garbage scene. And then I'm like, is that the end of the show? But then he helps it fly up into orbit, right?
Yes.
And then doesn't he like go under the rocket? What does he do? He goes into the rocket or something? It's not great.
I don't remember if we can even see him do
That's
this,
what I mean. I mean,
right?
okay,
like
it's
we can
a
see the
TV
rocket
show.
flying up. You might be able to see like a little tiny
Spec.
right? Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
this little human-shaped thing at the bottom, but we don't see him. Like, we don't see that close-up shot
Sure.
of him with his
Yeah.
arm up, pushing a
Josh,
piece of
any
machinery.
comments?
I feel like I'm less concerned about like visually how it looked, and I'm more just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
You know
I
what I mean?
gotcha.
Like you were saying, it's a TV budget. Yeah, they could have had like a close up of him with his like arm out of frame of camera or something.
Like just
they could have done something,
actor
but
with like a cylinder thing with fire.
I
That's
also
it.
didn't care enough because that scene I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
There was a weird, like the way that the tension in that scene played out was very weird, right? There's a bomb on this spaceship, and then he eats the bomb, but the problem's still not solved.
Right.
Now it's like, we're all sad because I guess we're never gonna walk, us kids, because we only have one chance, and now we've lost our launch window. Oh well, oh, I can get you up there. Like there's no tension there though, because we don't know who these people are, and I mean
That's a good point.
It's just this group of colonists that need to get to a space station. Do we really care? Like, how much do we really care that they're going to be late for their appointment?
It feels like that was added in afterwards because we needed more Superman-y things for Superman
what you do
to
there
right?
is that you have that bomb threat be something that is a little bit bigger, that you have to get the spaceship out of the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have Superman fly the spaceship up to get it away from the bomb. That way you're dealing with both threats.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Now, if you go back to the whole pilot, if you go back and watch it again, like Ian did, you go, okay, did we need this whole sequence with the theater closing and the woman? Did we need this? Did we need that? If they would have made the whole thing about one story, the kids and their plight, at least it would have been more cohesive, I think, right? Instead of just like, let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and then the whole thing just feels like a hodgepodge. And by the way, two more characters we have to talk about is Ma and Pa Kent. We didn't mention them at all. And here's the thing, though. I have to mention, in the comics, as in the original film, they die before he becomes Superman. Okay? That's a key thing about the comics for the first 48 years-ish. And then John Byrne retconned it when he got rid of Superboy. I think he kind of went, well, I want to keep the Kents around, so he kept them alive. And so now in most versions of Superman, the Kents are still alive.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just Ma that
in the
stays
comics,
alive.
I think maybe Pa dies eventually, but yeah, it's both of them usually. But in this show, they're alive through the whole show, and I gotta say, I don't like the idea of it, but the actors I think were great. What'd you think?
Yeah, they were good. I just, again, I think that they did a fine job, but when we go back to Smallville, it feels out of place.
It does.
It doesn't work.
Hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of like, oh, we got to show, we got to establish this.
Right.
We got to establish that. We got to establish this. That's probably the problem, right?
And him constantly like flying back and forth defeats the purpose of him being
in
Metropolis, right?
Good point.
Why doesn't he just live in Smallville and he flies back to work and then he fly? You know, it just doesn't.
He's got to explain that to people, though.
Here's the thing. To be fair, just for anyone that doesn't know, the Superboy comic is awesome, and it's Superboy as a teen. And, fighting crime in Smallville with the Kents alive, and it's awesome. But the whole thing is that they die eventually, and he becomes Superman. And now you're trying to shoehorn these two things together, but it doesn't work, because you're right. It's like, what is he? Yeah, every time he's in trouble, he's going to fly back to get his advice from his mom and dad. Like, it's just...
It's
granted, he can fly there in like an eighth of a second, but the point is that it's just awkward, right?
Right, and I think... the sets feel really good in this show, and it does feel like we're in this city.
Sure.
But when we fly back to Smallville, it really does feel like a box set.
Yeah, I can see
it feels very staged, and I think adds to the disjointed, like, weird moments that we're kind of stuck in this thing. Yeah. I don't know either. I mean, I think that the actors were fine. I don't know enough about Superman to know if these people are supposed to be alive or not. So I'm not gonna get too bent out of shape about that. It did result in one of my favorite scenes, which is the Ma Kent.
Oh, the costume scene?
Sewing different costumes. I've always rolled my eyes a little bit at superhero, how they get their costume stories.
Sure.
And this is the one that I think finally works for me.
Okay,
right?
okay.
Let's try this. Nah, this is stupid. Let's try this. And he's just trying on a whole bunch of different stuff. And they finally stumble across the one that, I mean, he's not crazy about it, but this is good enough. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it.
Okay, you know what? This is how we're going to end this episode. We got to talk about one important thing about Superman, okay? In the original comics, he has an S on his chest because his name is Superman. And then later on, they tried...
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Later on, they tried to say, that's ridiculous. No. Lois gives him the name Superman. And then later on, they're like, but he already has an S on his chest. But then later on, they're like, oh, I got it. The S is it's a symbol for the House of L on Krypton. Then another writer said, no, it's a symbol in Kryptonian that means hope. Well, guess what? I think it's cool when the S stands for Superman, and I think it's very simple and right. Like in this show, I don't know how do they explain the S. Do they explain it?
It was in a thing with his baby blanket.
Yeah, because they have the costume with no S, and then Ma Kent says, "Oh, it needs one more thing." But then, how is it already
it needs
an S?
this weird S.
Yeah, but then later Lois, just like Margot Kidder in Superman, says, "What a Superman!" Superman. And in this show, it's kind of doesn't Teri Hatcher say something kind of like that? He's super or whatever. I don't know. I just think. I mean,
it's a cat. Asks, did he tell you what the S stands for or something?
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Cat Grant. She wasn't that great. But anyway.
No. She was, she made me uncomfortable.
Yeah?
She made me uncomfortable.
It was pretty 90s.
It was so 90s. And I could just imagine like being stuck at a bar, minding my own business.
Yeah.
And this, like, her, but really drunk.
Sure.
Refusing to leave you alone kind of thing.
Yeah. It sounds like a very specific story, but anyway.
Well, I mean,
many a time. Yeah. I got you.
It's just like someone that does not respect boundaries, someone who's just slimy and just...
Yeah, I got you. But anyway, for the record, I'm just going to go on the record and say, keep it simple. The S stands for Superman. So what? This guy called himself Superman. Who gives a shit, right? What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I don't know. It is strange because you have to like come up with a reason after the fact.
Yeah.
As to why he was sent to Earth with a big S on his chest.
Right.
It is strange. So the hope thing is fine. I think it works for when it's trying to be this serious, grounded story, whatever.
I have to interject though. Why do we need these things explained at all? Like, why do we have to know?
Thank you, Ian Phillips.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian Phillips.
You're
right.
There's absolutely no way that you can rationalize this in a way that's going to make sense.
Yes, exactly.
You can't.
So why
just
bother?
leave it. It's an S. Because he's always had an S because it's a Superman show. All right.
Exactly.
All right. And if not having the S explained to you ruins it for you, I'll watch something else. I don't give a shit.
We need more Ians in the world here, okay? Seriously, it doesn't matter. Just like Robin. Wait a minute. You know, in the original comics, Robin was named after Robin Hood. That's why he has green pixie boots and green sleeves and a green, whatever it's called. They're like, no, it can't be that. It's got to be he's named after the bird. Oh, okay. Well, then we're gonna change why he's called. Who gives a shit, right? It's like, no, he's Robin. It doesn't matter. He's an artist.
That's who he is. That's what he looks like, and that's that.
Exactly.
And if you can't understand it, then I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. I'm with you. I think we've solved all of our problems here tonight. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's more Superman coming, as everybody knows. There's always more Superman coming. I gotta tell you guys, okay? In my adult life, I've rewatched every episode of Superboy, the show that we reviewed on this show.
Oh, I remember.
I've rewatched every episode of Superman the Animated Series, which is awesome. I've rewatched every episode of Smallville. I'm working on. I'm on season 4, but I gotta tell you, I think I'm gonna go back and rewatch this. Lois and Clark. I'm gonna rewatch every episode. 90%.
It's not terrible.
Because of Teri Hatcher. She's great.
I'm curious to see how they continue this on for 4 seasons and how much like Superman-y things that they bring into this. I would prefer if they didn't. You know what I mean? Like I kind of just want to see some Daily Planet stuff. I want to see them just fighting crime in a human way.
Ooh, all right.
Know?
Yeah, I gotcha. We'll leave it at that, I guess. Ian, any last words?
No, I'm not going to watch any more of it. I don't think so. There's so many more things that are kind of above this on my list of things to watch.
Okay.
But I wasn't too annoyed that I had to watch it twice.
Previous shows, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and there were some good things about it. Yeah, it was over the top in some ways, but for the most part, I think it did a pretty good job of trying to focus on the relationship between Clark Kent and Lois Lane.
All right.
Yeah.
When it got sidetracked from that, I think that's when it lost its appeal.
Yeah, I
It
agree.
lost its way a little bit. But when it focused on those two characters,
It's fun.
it was fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Maybe I'll get back to you once I finish rewatching all the episodes. But that's it for our Lois and Clark review. Coming up soon, we're going to be reviewing The Crow.
Once Mike
Yeah.
grows his hair out again.
Yeah.
Exactly. As well as some other. Oh, Human Target.
Oh, don't.
Yeah. Okay, Ian's gonna have to watch it twice, as well as some other shows.
Oh,
Be sure to
shoot.
join us every other week for an episode of either Tape Crusaders or Laser Brains. Also, be sure to join us every Wednesday or Tuesday at Meteor.
Mostly Wednesdays.
Mostly
Mostly
Wednesdays.
but
One
sometimes
Tuesday we've done it, yeah.
Because we watch a movie here every Wednesday or sometimes Tuesday. We want to thank Champion for having us every week.
Thank
movie
you,
night.
and thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, and Josh, boom, tell us where you can find our
You
episodes.
can find all of our stuff over on our website at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. You can also find the video format versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about the stuff we're talking about.
That's right. Till the next time, see you later.